and I have a great topic for you all today, and it is a topic of self-petition. This is a kind of case that we are seeing more often at my office, and I just want to, spread the information because I feel like it is also one of those cases that there's so much misinformation about on the internet, and so few lawyers really understand it so well also. And this is a self-petition. When somebody is married to a U.S. citizen or a permanent resident, or was married to a U.S. citizen or permanent resident, and they've divorced in the last 2 years, they can self-petition via Form I-360, and they can adjust their status in the United States without leaving the country, even if they entered illegally. And this is a very, very big deal because normally if you're married to a U.S. citizen or permanent resident, you have to prove your legal entry in order to adjust status in the United States. Now, how does somebody do that when they have entered illegally? It is through showing marital problems. So marital problems, and I say marital problems in place of the word that we usually hear, abuse, because abuse is a psychological term. It is not a legal term. It is a psychological term. However, a lot of things that qualify for this visa are, issues that you would not think would matter, right? Like things like a control issue. My spouse is controlling over who I talk to. My spouse is controlling over how I spend my money. So these are things that could count. Now, some of the questions I get when I tell people this, right? What are the benefits? What are the benefits? So let's talk about the benefits of self-petition and who qualifies. Who qualifies? Somebody who is married to or was married to a U.S. citizen or a permanent resident. Can be a man, can be a woman, doesn't matter. Okay? And who is present in the United States. So how you entered is not relevant. Okay? As long as you're present in the United States at this time. And so that is who qualifies. Okay? Now, what are some of the benefits? Benefits of self-petition. When you self-petition, you do not have to show the financial information to the same degree. The 944, which is famous, does not apply. Also, you get to file a Form I-864W, which is a very light version of the 864 the 864 Affidavit of Support. And when you get your green card, you get a green card that's directly for 10 years, as opposed to a 2-year green card and a conditional green card, which you get when you're filing the straight marriage-based application. Also, this is the kind of application where if you even have like a prior deportation, you may qualify. If you have multiple entries, you may qualify. So, and I say may because that's stuff that we need to get a little bit more detail on. So that's also in some cases okay. All right. You get a work permit from this within 6 to 8 months. You get a green card within 2 to 2.5 years. And we're talking about a 10-year green card, not a 2-year green card. Also, it does not involve your spouse at all. So if your spouse is unwilling to apply for you, if you and your spouse are no longer together, or maybe you might be married, but you may not be living together, or maybe you're married and living together, but part of the problem is that your spouse doesn't want you to apply for a green card, or your spouse is a permanent resident and you don't want to go through the whole waiver process. So those are situations where you would be eligible under the self-petition, but not under the regular, you wouldn't get these benefits under the regular process. Another thing that's really interesting about self-petition, if your spouse is someone who is, things are not going well in your marriage and your spouse is threatening to report you, false threats like that happen all the time because, when people are not getting along, part of the problem is that there is this motivation to be vengeful, okay? So if your spouse is saying, oh, I'm going to threaten, I'm going to contact ICE and I'm going to, report you or whatever, under the self-petition, you're protected against those threats. In fact, those threats might even help you. Okay? So those are some huge benefits of the self-petition, which you don't even get under the regular marriage-based processes in many cases. Now, what's the requirement? What are you required to do? What are the downsides, as some may say? Am I required to be divorced? No. Am I required to be separated? No. Am I required to report my spouse or to have a police report filed from my spouse? No. Is there any damage to my spouse in the process? No. In fact, this kind of case is so confidential that nobody can even find out about it or check up on it. It's very, very protected. So there is not really a negative to filing a VAWA self-petition. It does not hurt your spouse in any tangible way. Your spouse is never contacted. There's no report against your spouse for it. And it gives you complete privacy. In that complete privacy, you also have complete control over your own immigration process. So this is a kind of a case where, in order to file, the requirement that you have to meet is just that you have to have at some point within the last 2 years, if you're divorced, married a permanent resident or a U.S. citizen, okay, lived with them at least one day, and you would essentially be eligible to file based on reporting marital problems. You don't have to have a ton of proof. And that's another thing, because a lot of these things happen behind closed doors, right? Marital problems are not things that happen out on the street. So people oftentimes ask us, well, what if, all of this happened and nobody was around? Well, that's the way things are. I mean, that's reality, okay? So they understand that. And this is one of those few case types that is untouched by the Trump administration. It is not damaged. So it offers all of the protections. It is not damaged in the new administration. And we have been doing this tremendously successfully for over a decade. We're happy to help anybody who thinks that they may qualify or even has questions around it. If you have a question about it, call us. We would be happy to offer a confidential consultation and talk to you about whether or not you qualify, whether we can help you. We can help people regardless of where you live in the country, by the way. We are based in Chicago. Okay, my name is Denu Maru. I'm an immigration lawyer. I'm based in Chicago. My law firm is SwagatUSA, SWAGATUSA. However, we work with people all across the United States. And this is rapidly becoming one of our main case types, because it is one of those case types that is not negatively impacted with this administration. It is one of those case types that is probably the most flexible and open, about the least, small things. Like, maybe you don't have tax returns for a certain year or something like that. Those are things that are forgiven in this case type. So if you feel like you may qualify, if you're married to a U.S. citizen now, or if you were and you divorced less than 2 years ago, then call us 312-854-7065. I'm going to put my number underneath this video. Call us again. It's 312-854-7065, and we will look into how we can serve you, how we can help you, regardless of where you are in the country. Okay? All right. Hope everyone's having a great evening. I see a lot of people watching, and if you guys have any questions, just comment right below. I'll look into answering as many questions as I possibly can. Thank you.